Hello, this is Flights in Asia, and in this video, we'll actually cross the Pacific from Asia to the United States, where there is a dispute between two major airlines in the United States, United and Delta, over coveted flight slots at Tokyo's Haneda Airport. This dispute stems from Delta looking for more flexibility for services to the closest hub to Tokyo City Center. In a petition to the United States Department of Transportation, Delta is looking to make changes for its flight slot allocation at Haneda Airport by taking two of those flight slots for departures and arrivals at Haneda from any U.S. market rather than the cities assigned to each airline. In its filing, Delta has advocated to extend the benefits for not just Delta but for other airlines on a 3-year trial basis. The big reason for this proposal, as Delta pointed out, is the changing market conditions in the post-COVID era. Originally, the flight slots were allocated in August of 2019, and as we have experienced, the world has changed since then. In its filing, Delta stated, quote, "Today's air travel environment between the United States and Asia is starkly different from the landscape that existed in the region in August of 2019, when the department awarded the 12 newly available U.S. Haneda flight slot pairs. Since the original allocation of the slots in August of 2019, and after the pandemic, Delta has pointed out that the recovery has been slow for the routes operated by the airline between the US and Haneda. Currently, Delta operates services to 5 destinations from Haneda. Those destinations include Atlanta, Detroit, Los Angeles, Minneapolis-St. Paul, and Seattle-Tacoma. Of these routes, the services to Minneapolis and Los Angeles were started before the new slot allocation in 2019. As of now, Delta has yet to resume services from Haneda to Honolulu and Portland, which were cities that Delta was awarded the additional flight slots. Delta has pointed out that market trends have changed, and the airline has argued that the flight slot allocations should be reassigned and realigned to the current market conditions. Delta has pointed out that some of the decisions that were made for the slot allocations are now outdated, saying, quote, "Due to COVID-19, some of those demand assumptions are no longer valid. They need to be reassessed and refined to align capacity to actual demand as it exists post-2019. Grants of the limited flexibility sought in this motion would allow airlines to tailor a subset of their U.S. Haneda flight frequencies to actual and projected demand rather than historical demand." While Delta appeals to the idea of open skies, this proposal by Delta has drawn criticism from United Airlines, which said that the proposal was self-serving. Before discussing more on United's opposition, we have to take a look at the history of this flight slot allocation that occurred in August of 2019 by the United States Department of Transportation for the US-based airlines operating flights to and from Haneda Airport. That year saw an increase in flight slots available at Haneda Airport, which the US through the U.S. Department of Transportation would allocate 12 additional flight slots. 5 of these flight slots were allocated to Delta, 4 to United, 2 to American, and 1 to Hawaiian for their services to Honolulu, Hawaii. As mentioned before, Delta had flight slots to Los Angeles and Minneapolis prior to this addition. The additional 5 destinations that the airline has since launched flights from after the additional flight slots were available were Atlanta, Detroit, Honolulu, Portland, and Seattle. The following year, COVID-19 pandemic would shut down most of the global aviation industry, and as a result, the United States Department of Transportation issued a slot waiver for the carriers since 2020, which is set to expire this October. With the expiration of these flight slots, Delta must operate all these routes or lose the unused slots. So now fast forward to 2023, and Delta has proposed to use the flight slots in a more flexible way, rather than being limited to just the cities that they were awarded for. However, United has called this proposal self-serving and accused Delta of gaming the system, going as far as setting fares on the Haneda-Portland route higher to decrease demand. While Delta states that air travel demand between the United States and Japan has decreased, during a recent conference call for reporters, United's Chief Commercial Officer Josh Earnest said that the travel demand between the both countries have actually recovered and the airline is flying more to Haneda than prior to the pandemic. In its counter-filing, United has disputed the data given by Delta stating that Delta's data does not take into account for the counting of both Japan and US-based travelers, adding that Japan to US-bound traffic usually remains lower. Contrast to Delta, United has a more positive outlook for services between the United States and Japan, and should Delta fail to reuse those flight slots that they have not been using, United has its own plans for launching new flights to and from Haneda. In its filing, United states, quote, "In reality, U.S. carriers tend to carry U.S. originating customers more often, and this subset of demand is 70% recovered, which is above an average long-haul flight demand recovery of 67%. Delta obscures this fact by including data in its pleading that includes U.S. and Japan originating customers. Naturally, Japan origin traffic remains lower than the U.S. travelers, but Japan in late April just fully opened with the final drawdown of its COVID protocols. As United and Delta dispute this, Delta has also drawn support from the third U.S. Big Three airline, American. In its filing, American does support the proposal by Delta, saying, quote, "As a current U.S. Haneda slot holder, American supports the requested relief. Enabling flexible, market-based decision-making for U.S. Haneda service is warranted in the current demand environment." American further added, quote, "Gateway flexibility for up to 2 current flight slots would create public benefits by allowing all participating carriers to adapt their networks to the evolving conditions in a market consistent with open skies principles." Japan is a very important market for these airlines. Delta and American are coming from the view of the principles of open skies and the flexibility to respond to market conditions. In contrast, United is taking a stance on being committed on previously agreed commitments when it comes to these flight slot allocations. I definitely hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. This has been Flights in Asia, highlighting the news and updates from the aviation and travel scene in the Asia Pacific. For more of the latest updates, you can check out the website at www.flightsinasia.com. In the meantime, thank you for watching and have a great day.